Hi, my name is Brendan, and my project is on how we can solve America's obesity crisis. So, I want to start by saying that most countries outside the US view us as the most unhealthy country. I'm sure you guys have heard this running joke, but I mean, when you look at the statistics, it is true. So, the adult obesity rate as of 2023 was 42%, and the childhood obesity rate ages 2 to 19 was nearly 20%. And these statistics have both continued to rise in the past 2 years. So I think that we can address this problem through multimodality by um, raising awareness and promoting healthy practices, which therefore influence people and policies. So I don't think that America's obesity problem stemmed from one single point, but I have three main points that I think are the biggest contributing factors. The first one being processed foods. Um, these are things like soda, donuts, fried food, fast food, candy, just a lot of different desserts. These are very uh, calorically dense, but they don't fill you up very much, meaning you can eat a lot of them. Um, so this obviously leads to a lot of caloric intake and obesity. So the next thing that I think led us here was our cultural mindset in America. I think it's become very normal for us to eat fast food almost every day or have a Starbucks drink every morning. I don't think a lot of people realize um, like how many calories that can be if you're having something like that every day. Um, yeah, and then the next point is lifestyle. I'm sure all of you have heard the stories about people traveling to Europe and saying they lost a bunch of weight because they're in the city walking around more. And I think this is pretty true. In America, we um, how our society works is revolved around the 9 to 5 job. So a lot of people are sitting more than we used to, and just overall less active, leading to less calories burned. So someone who's obese is at higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, cancer, depression, fatty liver, and there's a lot more to it. Um, Basically, when you intake all these excess calories, store on body fat, you take on more inflammation, which is basically what leads to these diseases. And then obesity can affect us just as much mentally as physically. So, obesity is linked to higher rates of depression and anxiety due to social stigma, body image issues, hormonal imbalances, low self esteem. There's also a lot of sleep disorders associated with it. There's reduced mobility and just an overall lower quality of life, just due to chronic health issues and not being able to do daily tasks as much as you should be. So, even though this is a pretty complex issue, I think the solution is actually pretty simple. Um, so, the first step in addressing this issue is changing social norms. Um, so, I think everybody needs to shift their mindsets. I have a quote: health should be as routine as brushing your teeth. This doesn't mean you have to eat perfect every day or go to the gym every day. This just means to just be conscious of your health every single day, just as much as you would brushing your teeth. Um, don't be afraid to challenge norms. I've seen a lot of videos of like people kind of taking this to the extreme where they're, getting their steps in or like taking a jog in the airport, um, which obviously everyone doesn't have to do that. Something a little more simple is maybe you work a 9 to 5 and you just every hour you take a 5 minute walk and just get your body moving a little bit. So the next step is actually implementing fitness and nutrition. I'd say the first pillar of that is being a calorie deficit, meaning you're burning more calories than you're taking in. Um, the next point would be more of the diet side. So eating less fast foods, processed foods, and eating a lot more whole foods, specifically that are higher in protein and fiber, because these foods will keep you much more full for longer, leading to it being a lot easier to be in a calorie deficit. And then lastly, just physical activity. People don't need to be training like bodybuilders. Unless you want to be one, it's really not necessary. Even just going to the gym or doing some form of cardio just 3 times per week is enough just for the average person. It's a lot better than doing nothing, and that would help a lot of people tremendously. Just even going to the gym a few times per week. So, lastly, education and misinformation. Um, I know as someone starting out, like it can be very confusing to learn about all of this stuff. Um, but there are a lot of experts on. I mean, I'm assuming that everyone would be learning this information through social media. There's a lot of experts and people with good information on social media. Um, but there are a lot of people who are not experts and make it seem like they are, which is what I'll get to with the misinformation. But um, I think it's important to also make learning enjoyable. So find somebody you like that teaches about health and fitness. If you're not already interested in this kind of thing, it's really important to not make it feel like a chore. So just finding a reliable expert who you specifically relate to is going to help a lot. And then lastly, take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously, this doesn't mean every video you see or piece of content you see about health and fitness you need to take with a grain of salt. But it's always good to have an open mind and understand that on the internet, a random person can say anything, even though they might not know what they're talking about. I think it's just important to include that. So, lastly, I want to talk about this issue, kind of thinking beyond just this presentation and how we can actually use and receive multimedia to address this issue. Um, so I think the most important part is short form content, meaning things like TikTok, Instagram, different social media campaigns. These are what most people are going to learn their information on. So I think it's really important to understand how these different forms of media can influence everyone in America. Um, and then also long form content, things like YouTube, still very good pieces of media. And then next is promotions. I think promotions are very underutilized in this aspect. There's a lot of opportunity for partnerships with popular athletes or fitness creators or health educators that are on the internet. I think promotions with these people and just collaborating with different companies that also have health and wellness in mind would be great for addressing this issue. That's it. Thank you.